Is the Hateful Eight hatefully great, or should you skate by it so you're not late to watch a better movie? Find out, and this is reviewable.
I was confused. Say it again.
I can't remember it. Micah was confused by my intro, and I can't even remember it, so maybe I was too. But we watched The Hateful Eight, didn't we? Didn't we, Micah?
We sure did, Brayden.
So this is a Quentin Tarantino movie. This is a movie that he did one time, and he did it after Django Unchained and before Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That makes this the eighth, as he counts them, his eighth feature film. Yeah. And the story behind this one, did you like that?
No.
What's wrong with that?
Okay, keep going.
The story behind this one is I should have researched this a little more, but a long time ago, he was planning this movie and the script was leaked online and he got really mad and canceled it. And so for a while, everybody thought that this was not going to be his eighth movie. You know, he wasn't going to do it because he got so pissed that the script was released. What I'm not sure about is how different this movie is from that original script. I haven't really looked into that. That is a true story. Is that interesting or what?
That is the most interesting thing I've heard today. But I wasn't lying.
But this movie was made eventually, and it's his eighth movie. And I'm just now realizing, Hateful Eight, it's his eighth movie. Wow. Planning.
I thought about that a couple minutes ago, but I thought it was too obvious that I wasn't going to say it.
No, I just never even thought about it before. But this movie is about a group of strangers, basically, 8 strangers that end up in a snowed in into a cabin in Wyoming. And they are
Minnie's haberdashery.
Yeah, Minnie's haberdashery, and they're stuck there for at least a couple of days while the storm blows over, and cabin fever ensues.
Yeah, rather quickly.
Yeah, yeah. But honestly, though, it's not really cabin fever.
No,
in my opinion,
it's just distrust and suspicion and
but
money, clouding people's judgment and everything. I feel like.
But the reason I say it's not cabin fever is everybody has, it turns out, a very valid reason to be distrustful of one another. So like in other words, none of this was in anyone's head. The stakes were always really high, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I guess, spoiler alert.
The movie starts off with Kurt Russell,
John Ruth,
in a
stagecoach,
and they're trying to outrun
the storm.
They're trying to outrun the storm, and he has a bounty that he is transporting back to the city, and she's worth what, 10 grand?
10,000.
And they end up picking up a couple different people along the road on the way to this cabin.
Yeah.
Because if they don't pick them up, and Kurt Russell, John Ruth, does not want to pick these people up.
Right, because he's transporting a $10,000 bounty.
But if he doesn't pick them up, they're going to die out here in the storm. And so, he picks them up.
So he picks up Major Warren, which is Samuel L. Jackson's character, and Chris Mannix, which is Welding Goggles' character, Walton Goggins.
Mr. Gangly Legs.
Right. And then when they get there, there are 4 other characters already in the cabin. Is that right? Wait, let me think about this. Because OB is their driver. He's their stagecoach driver. So you've got OB, John Ruth, Major Marquis, whatever. Chris Mannix, that's 4. And those are the people in the stagecoach.
And Domergue.
And Domergue, that's 5. You're right. She's the bounty. And then they get to the haberdashery, and there is Joe Gage, Bob the Mexican, Senor Bob, Oswaldo Mowbray.
And that white guy.
The white guy. The old white guy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then an old Southern general guy that's also there. So there's 9 people in this cabin. But I guess, who are we not counting? Like, to get the number down to 8. This is a bad title, I'm realizing.
The old man.
Do we not, or
No.
OB? Do we not count OB, or do we not count the old man?
Hmm.
I feel like we don't count OB.
I was thinking we didn't count the old man.
But like, if you think about the title, the Hateful Eight, like everybody in that cabin is kind of angry and spiteful and hateful, except for OB. He's just sort of there.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Should have been called the Hateful Nine. Or you should have just, scratched one of those people off the list and really made sure there were only 8 people in that cabin.
Yeah, who needs a stagecoach driver? Stagecoach can drive itself.
All I'm saying is there didn't have to be 4 people waiting for them at the cabin. There could have just been 3, right?
Yeah.
Because also, like, the way that things play out, not everybody gets their special moment. We'll get to that in spoiler section. When things start happening, anyways, yeah, I don't know why they didn't just cut one of the people just to to satisfy the title, or just call it the Hateful Nine. He really, really wanted his 8th movie to be called the Hateful Eight, I guess.
Well, do you think Hateful Nine sounds as good as Hateful Eight?
It doesn't.
No. I think it's the T at the end.
Yeah, so there, I don't know. Whatever.
Makes it kind of punchy.
It does, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like Apollo Creed, punchy.
Hmm.
You've never seen Rocky. You don't get that.
I've seen Creed.
Okay. But yeah, that's what it's about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what did you like about it?
Well, before we get started, let's just do Parents Guide so we don't forget. This movie has a ton of language.
Yeah.
There is violence.
A lot.
/ gore.
Yeah.
There is some sexual.
No, there's not. What? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. And it's pretty disturbing, actually.
It's kind of gross.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not for kids. Like, this
No.
is, and this also, I think in our Terran triple feature episode, when we talked about Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we talked about how those movies are really violent, but they're also like very fun and very satisfying and cathartic. I think that this one is maybe a little bit less that. It's like the violence isn't necessarily fun violence. It's like, whoa, violence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whoa there, horsey violence, if you will.
I guess the different, you could call it like disturbing violence. Because
Yeah.
in those other ones, they're not necessarily disturbing the whole time.
Yeah, it's like popcorny.
Yeah. And this one, it is disturbing.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, more so at least.
Yeah. So that's a Parent's Guide. This is rated R. And it's definitely, this is a rated R movie. Some movie, like Good Will Hunting.
Is that why it's rated R?
But like Good Will Hunting, you're like,
there's
it's language.
Yeah, there's tons of language in that movie.
But like, besides that, you're like,
and there's like, they make a lot of crude jokes.
What was After Sun rated R?
After Sun was.
That's not really a rated R movie.
Yeah, that one I'll agree with. I'll give you that one.
But this definitely feels like a rated R movie.
I will not give you Good Will Hunting. I'll give you After Sun though.
Okay. You brat. I'm going to start with things that I didn't really like.
Mm-hmm.
The first hour and a half. How long is this movie?
So there's a couple of different cuts, actually. But I think the normal theatrical cut that the average Joe would be watching is, I think it's 3 hours long. Yeah, 2 hours, 55 minutes.
Okay, so the first hour and a half of this movie, boring, in my opinion. I was bored. You didn't think so?
No, I don't think so.
It's just a lot of yapping. And Kurt Russell's character, is kind of obnoxious at times, I felt like. Because he's this bounty hunter and he has this $10,000 fugitive that he wants to bring in alive. And and just like some of his lines and the way that his character is written is kind of annoying, in my opinion.
Well, nobody's nice in this.
I just don't really like the way that he delivered some of these lines, and maybe it's just the way that his character was written, but it just felt forced in some ways with him.
Maybe Kurt Russell just sucks. Maybe he's a bad actor. That's what Micah's saying. Kurt Russell's a bad actor, Micah says.
No, have you seen Overboard?
No. Why is that thought? I don't even know. What's the quintessential Kurt Russell movie? What is that? I think of Miracle, but there's no way that that's it. You know what I mean?
I forgot about Miracle.
Is it? Oh, maybe it's The Thing.
There's Tombstone.
Oh, Tombstone. Yeah, maybe it's Tombstone. He's good in Tombstone.
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy.
No,
Miracle.
it's not. Yeah. Maybe he doesn't have like a,
No, I think it's Overboard.
Okay, sure. I think it's his cameo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I think it's either Overboard or probably Tombstone, even though I've never seen it.
So she didn't like Kurt Russell. Did you like Walton Goggins?
Yeah. How could you not?
I know, he's great. Even though everyone in this is not a good person.
Oh yeah.
They're all bad.
Yeah.
But he's still likable.
Yeah. Can we talk about the letter?
The Lincoln letter?
Yeah. Or is that
in a spoilery way? No, yeah, I think that would be a spoiler.
Oh.
Yeah.
Aw. Aw.
I know. But just know that there is a Lincoln letter, guys. And it's what it sounds like. It's a Lincoln letter. A letter made out of Lincoln logs.
Who told you that?
I'm just telling them what to expect. I don't want them to be surprised.
Oh.
But I don't want them to be spoiled also. I don't want them to spoil their dinner. So I'm not going to feed them tasty sweets before they've had.
Because how can they have any pudding?
Exactly. If they don't eat their meat. Name that reference in the comments. Okay, so you liked Walton Goggins' character. Did you like Samuel L. Jackson's character?
Yeah, but if I had to pick who my favorite one was, it was probably, in order, Walton Goggins.
And then that's the end of the list?
Yeah. And then I really liked, what's his name, Bob? The Mexican?
Senior Bob?
Yeah, Senior Bob.
You liked how he's... Is that guy actually Mexican? His accent is so over the top.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, he's Mexican. Okay.
I just thought he was funny.
Yeah. He's like...
yeah, because his accent really is
he's
over
like,
the top.
Yeah, he's like, "You're accusing me? Can you prove it, cabron?" And you're like, "Whoa, man. Okay, sure. I mean, he's Mexican, so I guess that's how he talks." But maybe he was told to play it up because also, what's that guy's name? Something Roth, I think, is his name. The British guy. Tim Roth. Tim Roth plays Oswaldo Mowbray. And he has like a really over-the-top posh London accent that sounds like almost kind of fake. But also, what's his name? Tim Roth. There's too many Roths out there. There's Eli Roth. There's Roth IRA. And there's Roth 401k. And then there's Tim Roth too. Are you fucking kidding me? Ridiculous.
So dumb.
We need a Roth purge. Just kidding. I would never call for a Roth purge. Anyways, the accent is really over the top and silly, but you know that Tim Roth is British in real life, so you're like, well, I guess it's authentic because he's actually British. Sort of the same thing with Senior Bob, I guess, right?
Does Tim Roth's accent really sound like that in real life?
He's British in real life. I don't know where in England he's from, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, so...
Well, what was your favorite part of the movie?
Well, no, you're telling your favorite characters.
Oh, my favorite character. Yeah, okay. So, Walton Goggins.
Okay.
And then Senior Bob.
Okay.
And then someone that I am not able to name. I really liked their character.
Joe Gage?
No.
Not Joe Gage.
That I'm choosing not to name.
Oh, the surprise?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. I don't need to list anyone else.
Samuel L. Jackson didn't even make the list. Oswaldo Mowbray didn't even make the list, huh? Okay. My favorite character is probably also Walton Goggins' character.
Is first.
Chris Mannix. Yeah, he's first. And then probably Samuel L. Jackson. When he's like sort of uncovering what's going on, it's really entertaining.
Yeah, right? That's fair.
Just the way that he talks, he's good at it, you know. At a certain point, this isn't really a spoiler, but they arrive at the haberdashery and he's helping Senior Bob put the horses away, and this is why I don't think the beginning is boring, because it's all set up and him just, something doesn't feel right about this. What's going on? And he's asking questions and he's talking, and it's mostly small talk, but there's a layer of distrust under the surface, right? And I found that interesting, especially considering, you know, this is the cabin fever movie. So it's the distrust and the anxiety is starting to build as these innocuous situations are happening. And then around an hour to an hour and a half in, you know, shit starts getting kicked off in this movie. And it all feels like it had been simmering to that point a little bit, you know? That's why I don't think the beginning is all that boring. But when he's helping Senior Bob put the horses away, he's like, "What did you say Minnie is?" Because Minnie's the owner. And Senior Bob tells he's on the other side of the mountain visiting her mother, her parents. He's like, "Okay, that sure don't sound like Minnie." He's like, "Are you calling me a liar?" And he's like, "Nope, I'm not calling you a liar." And he's like, "It sounds like you're calling me a liar." "Yeah, it sure does sound like I'm saying that." Still ain't said it yet. He's just got a way of delivering lines in a super entertaining, compelling way. He's got that Riz, that Samuel L. Jackson Riz.
That was your favorite part?
Watching him uncover the what's going on, yeah, I think for sure that's my favorite part. What was your favorite part? Did you like how Chris Mannix is addressing when he's addressing Domergue, the bounty lady?
At the table?
Just in general, he's always like, "Okay, bitch." Every single time he calls her bitch, every single time, and like some kind of drawn out southern drawl.
That was really good. The way, okay,
"Okay,
bitch.
why don't you tell me this, bitch? No deal, bitch."
I think my favorite part is when, okay, so at the beginning of the movie, when Walton Goggins gets picked up in the middle of the storm, he claims to be the sheriff of the town that everybody's heading towards.
Right.
The new sheriff. And nobody can confirm this because nobody's been to town yet.
Yeah.
And he just keeps saying, "I'm the new sheriff," whatever. And nobody believes him. And then later on in the movie, when things are trying to get figured out, Samuel L. Jackson's character gives him a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And Walton Goggins' character is like, basically like, "I feel vindicated."
"So you finally come to your senses about me being the new sheriff of Red Rock?"
Yeah, he says it just like that.
He's like, "I don't know about all that, but I trust you for this other reason,
Yeah, and the way that Walton Goggins' character is during that whole scene, that's my favorite part.
Okay.
Like his
He's
back
laughing.
and forth.
He's
Yeah.
because Major Warren is like, it's sort of like a explain who done it at the end of the movie, sort of a scene, except it's in the middle of the movie, and he's like, "This is why I think it's this character is fucking us over, and this character is helping, and whatever the case may be." And every time he drops one of these like truth bombs that he's figured out, Chris Mannix is like, "Ah, ha, ha." He's like just laughing over the top, and "He got you." He's like the hype man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder how he'll do as a sheriff if he actually is one.
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably my favorite part.
Okay.
Mr. Gangly Legs. I like his voice.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
He didn't have his super white teeth in this one.
No.
Yeah.
That was kind of icky.
They all had.
Everybody had nasty teeth except for Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yeah, he had okay teeth, didn't he?
His teeth were pearly white.
Yeah. How did you like the scene where Samuel L. Jackson is talking to the general?
No.
You didn't like that scene?
No.
So, I think I really like that scene now.
Why?
Just because it's like a masterclass in talking shit, because we can't really talk too much about it in spoilers.
Do you think it was true, though?
I have no idea. I don't know who is telling the truth and who is not telling the truth in this movie. Okay. I have an idea about some people maybe telling the truth and some people not. But most of the people, the claims that they're making, I'm like, I don't know if that's true. If it's not directly answered in the movie, I'm like, I don't know if that's true. Was that ever true this whole time? Do you think he was telling the truth about that?
I was just waiting for you to ask me that, and in my head I was thinking, yeah, that was true. And then I was like, yeah, that's probably true. Is that true? I don't think that's true. Do I believe that it's true? I just completely did a 180, and now I feel like I'm circling my way back.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I wouldn't spoil that scene for anybody. It's very surprising. But I remember hearing about this scene from a friend. We were playing Risk, and he was talking about having watched this movie, and I remember thinking, ew, that's gross. I don't want to watch that movie. And then, years later, I did watch that movie, and I was like, okay, that scene was done pretty well. especially because not Silent Bob, Senior Bob is
Silent Bob.
Yeah, he's playing Silent Night on the piano,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just very moody. I don't know, like it starts out friendly. Samuel L. Jackson is being friendly with this general, and the general is being weirdly friendly to this black man. Both being weirdly friendly because they're not very nice, and they're not nice to each other, and there's the racial tension going on between them. And then Silent Bob is over there playing on the piano, just
Silent Bob.
very shittily, like not very well, very slow. And it feels like it's creeping up to a boiling point, which it does. I think I really like that scene now, even if it is kind of
disturbing.
Right. Okay. Well, do we want to talk much more about this before
No
spoilers? Okay. I like this movie. I think this is kind of an underrated one. People don't really appreciate it very much, but I think it's decent. I think it's pretty good. I would probably give it like an 8. I'd give it an 8. Now I am calling you a liar out of 10.
Okay. I am gonna rate this a 7.5. I think it's okay. It's not my favorite one. 7.5. Sheriff of Red Rock.
Okay.
Out of 10.
Yeah.
This is not my favorite one.
Yeah.
I would say it was boring, except for the last hour.
So spoilers, I guess. Now spoiler section. Spoiler time, everybody. You liked the Channing Tatum cameo?
Yeah, I was surprised. I had no idea that Channing Tatum was in this movie.
Yeah.
And then he shoots Samuel L. Jackson in the junk, and then he comes up out of the basement and was like, he's in this movie?
Yeah. Yeah. Shoots him in the balls. You bushwhagging sack shooter. Did you like the part where they're pointing a gun at, because Channing Tatum is Dom Regue's brother, so he's there to save her, right? Turns out that Oswaldo Mowbray, Joe Gage, and Senior Bob are all part of his gang as well. So they're all bad. Everybody that, except for the old man that is at the cabin when the stagecoach arrives at the cabin, everybody there apart from the old man is part of the gang that's trying to spring Dom Regue loose. This is what I was saying about, like, there don't really need to be 9 of them, because Joe Gage and Senior Bob gets his very special moment where Samuel L. Jackson accuses him and, shoots him, kills him, all that. They have a little back and forth. But Joe Gage and Oswaldo Mowbray are they both kind of get killed at the same time, sort of like thrown away almost. You know what I mean? Like, they don't really get their special moment each.
Mm-hmm.
They both just kind of die in a shootout that happens.
Well, Oswaldo, I would say, has more of a moment than Joe Gage.
Yeah.
Because he offers himself up.
Yeah.
And that was kind of his moment, I would say, that whole conversation of him offering himself up.
Yeah. I just wish that they had played more of a part in the mystery part of the, the build-up part. But I did like how Major Warren deduces that it was Joe Gage that poisoned the coffee. Or wait, no, he gets him to admit it, because Marcus kills Senior Bob, and then he's like, all I know is one of you poisoned the coffee. And if you don't fess up real quick, I'm going to pour the rest of this coffee down that bitch's throat. And then he gives him like 2 seconds, and he's like, time's up. And then he goes over there. And then Joe Gage raises his hand. He's like, I poisoned the coffee. And Chris Mannix was like, I think my money's on the ugly one. He thinks he just doesn't like Joe Gage.
So every chance during the whodunit part, Chris is like, I think it was him.
Yeah.
The ugly one.
Bitch.
Yeah. To Joe Gage.
And then when he raises his hand, Chris Mannix is like, I fucking knew it. Major Warren, do I have permission to shoot this ugly son of a bitch? Do we want to talk about the killing of the old man?
Now that it's spoilers, I don't know that we need to. That just was gross to me. And like you said, like, sure, it was well done, the storytelling of it, and the icky feeling that it gives you. That's really well done. I can, give her credit for that. But
well, I think what I like most about it. So what I guess we'll explain really quick what it is. So Major Warren is telling this general how his son came looking for Major Warren because Major Warren had a Southern bounty on his head. He was a black soldier that killed a lot of Southerners during the war, so they put a bounty on his head. So a lot of, and they do like make a reference to this at the very beginning of the movie, how this bounty was huge at one point and then it's been reduced, and a lot of people have come out looking for him and never come back. So they make this reference. So what he's saying is totally plausible, but he's also,
that the Southern general's son came to look
yeah,
for him,
he also very much wants to kill this guy
and he wants it
because,
to be justified.
yeah, because he tries to draw on him earlier, but Oswaldo Mowbray, who's pretending to be the hangman of Red Rock, is like, if you kill him, I'm afraid I will have to execute my duty as a servant of the court and hang you because it is unjustified or whatever. And then Chris Mannix is like, I'm going to make sure you hang as well, because he's also Southern and racist, and he doesn't like Major Warren, and he's the new sheriff. So Major Warren needs a way to kill this guy, or he wants a way to kill this guy. And before he starts telling him this story, he puts a pistol on the table right in front of the old man. Did you notice that?
I think I did.
So yeah, he like puts a pistol out and he like looks at him and he's telling this story about how the general's son came looking for him and Major Warren caught him and
Don't go into too much
yeah,
detail.
basically tortured him in a way, and
He did torture him.
yeah, he's riling this old man up, trying to get him to go for the pistol, and then he goes for the pistol, and Major Warren quick draws on him and just shoots him, and then puts his pistol away. And like the way that he like just so matter of factly just pistol away, I'm good, makes me think he was just saying what he needed to say to get that, to kill this guy. I don't know.
Yeah. The thing about the Lincoln letter that I was gonna say
Uh-huh.
was Major Warren, so Samuel L. Jackson's character, the whole movie, like people are like, "Are you the one with the Lincoln letter?"
Uh-huh.
Everybody knows that he has this letter from Abraham Lincoln because apparently they were quote unquote pen pals.
Yeah.
And talked to each other, wrote letters to each other during the war, and Chris or not Chris,
Chris Mannix.
John.
Oh, John Ruth.
Ruth is like, I saw it one time. He let me read it, and he let me read it again. He's the guy, just everybody is like,
Yeah.
he's the one, or whatever. And everybody's sitting at the table, and John Ruth is like, telling about it. And Chris Maddox is like, Abraham Lincoln.
You have a letter from Abraham Lincoln?
The president,
Abraham Lincoln. And the way John tells it, you don't just have a letter, y'all shared a correspondence. A correspondence is practically pen pals.
Basically friends.
Pen pals, basically friends.
The president of the United States of America. And you believe him, John?
Yeah.
This guy has a letter from the president, Abraham Lincoln. And he just keeps building this up. And finally, he's like, you're a liar.
Yeah.
And Major Warren's like, yep, I am.
Yeah.
I really liked that scene. I just thought it was funny. How quickly he was like, that's a lie.
Yeah.
That is a lie.
Well, Chris Mannix was the one that figured that.
Right.
Yeah. And in the end, like, it is the two, I guess, smartest characters that end up living the longest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Chris Mannix and Major Warren, but nobody lives. They all die.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of them make it out of that cabin. Yeah, that is a good scene, isn't it?
Yeah. And then I also liked when it was like the whodunit part and Dahmer, or not the whodunit, right at the very end of the movie. It was just Domergue, Major Warren, and Chris Maddox left. And Domergue is trying to convince Chris to let her go and join her side and all of that. And he's like, it seems like he's buying into it. And then finally he's like, You bitch, you almost let me drink the poisoned coffee. I'm not trusting you.
No deal.
Yeah, I like that part too.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. Oh, I also liked when they have Domergue at gunpoint and they're telling Channing Tatum to throw his guns out or throw his
Yeah.
gun out, and he throws his gun, and Major Warren's like, I bet you he's got another one. Now throw out your other pistol. I ain't got another pistol. Well, you better shit another pistol out in the next 5 seconds or we're gonna blow her head off or whatever.
And he tosses out another pistol.
Told you.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, that was good. All right. Okay, I think that's all we're gonna do for this week. Next week, what will we watch? What will we watch? I will have finished Succession season 4, so I'll talk about that. The season finale, the series finale. I guess you'll just have to wait and see.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, have a great week, everybody. Bye.